we're live. What's up, everybody? Office hours. We're here again. Dang, I can't front. Time is nothing to me, so I don't know what episode this is. I think it's 7 or is it 8?
7.
7. Perfect. Episode 7. Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about Instagram. What's up, Nora? How are we doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited. You know, we just hit over 100 subscribers between our episode last week about Twitter and then today's episode. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been subscribing and sharing and supporting and participating and telling their friends. Someone was like, I made my mom watch all your episodes. I know, right? I'm like, my mom doesn't watch our episodes, so thank you.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. Like, my mom ain't watching this.
So I think it's crazy that we've hit 100 so quickly. Like, I don't think you and I, either of us, really care about the numbers, but it's a nice little piece of validation.
It's mind blowing. Like, that's genuinely like how crazy it is to me. I didn't think we'd reach 100 until the end of the year, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like that's how slow YouTube growth is and stuff like that. But I'm actually stunned that we have hit 100, and I think we're actually pretty close to 110. I think we're at 108 or something like that right now. But yeah, thank you guys so much for the support. It genuinely means the universe to us, and we'll keep trucking.
Yeah. So welcome to Office Hours with Nora and Stowe. We answer practical advice for the independent musician. So if you have any questions, please feel free to share those in the comments. Introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are and where you're from and what you do, because we're really here for you. My name is Nora. I'm a creative consultant. I have a background in community work meets artist management meets event curation meets matchmaking artists around the world. And really what I really do is consult for artists and help them be successful without giving up their sole creative control or personal finance. So decolonizing the music industry, one independent artist at a time.
Exactly. For some reason, when you said matchmaking, I immediately thought romantic matchmaking. I'm like, I guess you do that too, but mother of God. But what's up, everybody? It's Stowe. You already know what it is. Dropping keys all over the place. Artist development, hip hop writer, author, all that jazz, blah, blah, blah. And we're glad you guys are here.
Yeah. On a side note, in another life, I really would have been like a romantic matchmaker.
Right.
But you know,
I guess
that didn't happen. So but low key, I'm always like, so can I introduce you to someone?
Right.
You know, because who doesn't love love? But we're not talking about love today. We're talking about Instagram. And I wanted to start out just with this. You know, I think everyone's like, oh, well, obviously we should be on Instagram, like as if that's like the new hot thing. But I think it's really important to think about, as an artist, what are the platforms that make the most sense for you? And it might be Instagram. It might not be. That might not be where your audience is. And so wanted us to start with this conversation around like what makes Instagram different from other platforms and why it may or may not be good for independent artists and musicians in particular.
Right. No, absolutely. Instagram really is an interesting platform. I think I myself, I slept on the platform for a long time. I pretty much just used it as just like a casual thing, whatever, like, you know, post whenever I want, you know, not really using it as a platform. But over the years, and definitely as I've started to study more like in artist development and stuff like that, Instagram is an incredible platform when it's not completely filled with spam and you know, random algorithm BS. But it's a more visual platform, obviously. They've evolved over time to add live streaming and kind of like YouTube form type content, I guess, to the platform. And here's the other thing I am going to throw in there. Nora knows more about Instagram than I do. I use the platform. I love the platform, and I obviously have my keys and tips and stuff like that. But I watch Nora kill it on Instagram all the time. I learn stuff from her just watching and like going through her timeline all the time. So, but yeah. It's an easy I also believe it's an easy platform to get wrapped up in because I think it's easy to post a picture, upload a video or whatever. And I do see a lot of artists that are like, oh, well, I'm popping on Instagram, so I don't need to do anything else. And we'll obviously get into that later. But Instagram is incredible. Every artist should have one.
I think you bring up like two caveats. One is, even if you have a bazillion followers on Instagram, it doesn't mean that they're fans. And it doesn't mean that you own that content, right? Like if Instagram, and we've seen this over time, like when Instagram goes down and everyone's like, well, shit, there goes my release project, or I have no way of engaging with my fans. So Instagram and Twitter and TikTok, or whatever your platform might be, is a tool, but it shouldn't be home base. And so I think that's an important thing to say when we have this conversation is make sure that in addition to Instagram, you have ways of directly connecting with your audience, whether that's email or, you know, some people do text or whatever it might be. The other thing is Instagram is so visual. It's really easy to get caught up in how people are presenting their lives and presenting their career and presenting their story. And so this is part of what makes Instagram so useful for artists and for musicians, is that you can tell your story visually. It's great for photos, it's great for videos, in quick sound bites so that you can just tease people or draw people in. But please be mindful of not comparing yourself to others, because what you see is not always reality. As much as, you know, I think I always tell artists, like, be authentic, be authentic. People try to, you know, people very intentionally curate their stories and curate what they're presenting. And so please be mindful of what you're taking in and whether or not you're comparing yourself, because you never know what someone's really doing. And so that's the caveat between Instagram. Shout out to Natalie, who said hello to us in like 4 different languages.
Like a million different languages.
So I think, but I do think that's part of what makes Instagram different from other platforms, is its ability to connect visually, and through it really can lend itself to stories. And you can scale it. You can do something small and quick with like a story in your, you know, that disappears in 24 hours, or you can do something more long-term. So it gives you there's multiple tools on one platform that you can play with. Absolutely. And learning how to use those, you know, what you're doing in the DMs, what you're doing with hashtags, how you're commenting. There's multiple ways to engage. And so I think that's one of the things that makes it different from, say, like Twitter, where Twitter, all you can do is post and comment, post and comment. Instagram gives you options. And so you can really find the ways that work best for you and that you're most comfortable with. And start there. If you're really comfortable with stories, start there. If you're really comfortable with something else, start somewhere else. But I think that's the thing that makes Instagram different. And everyone's at your fingertips, right? So you can find your favorite producer from Ghana and reach out to them. You can, you know, it's the entry point into connecting with other people is really easy, especially with hashtags. I think hashtags is another thing that makes Instagram, in the way that Instagram uses hashtags, is special in that you can look things up by, what do you like? Sneakerhead, vintage hip hop, whatever it might be, and find other people who have that in common with you. And so it makes it really easy to find your affinity group. And then that can be a starting point, especially if you've watched other office hours and you know that you should have your niche figured out, and knowing what hashtags your core audience is using. Now you can use those on Instagram to start to engage with them. So Instagram gives you a lot of options. Shout out to Serial Sensei, who's also joining us. Guys, as you're coming in, watching the stream, please feel free to introduce yourselves. If you have questions as we're talking, drop those. If you have your own kind of tips and advice or things that have worked for you, haven't worked for you, drop those in the comments. We really do like this to be as interactive as YouTube allows it to be. So I think one of the things that I like best about Instagram is its ability to build connections and collaborations. How can I use Instagram to build connections and set up collaborations?
Yeah, I think one of the best ways, and I think one of the ways that artists and myself included sleep on, is commenting on people's posts. I know there's a couple ways to kind of take it, right? Like, I know a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm liking posts, and like, that's great. That's obviously a way to interact. But the minute you leave a comment, like you're I don't know, you're setting yourself apart from everyone else who's liking stuff and whatnot. In that same breath, though, that doesn't mean, because I have heard artists being like, oh, I'm just going to comment on a million different people's thing. And even when we freaking put up questions for office hours, we get bombarded with spam and stuff like that. That never works. I'm gonna say it in every damn episode until I'm blue in the face. Spamming does not work, and that includes on Instagram.
Yeah.
If you're hopping between comments and stuff like that, or like, let's say you're you're going through a hashtag or something like that, and like Natalie said, she literally took the words right out of my mouth. Like, use actual, thoughtful, engaging, organic comments, because then when the person responds, like, you then are having a genuine conversation. And the minute that happens, I know for me, if I actually have a conversation in my comments, like, I'm more apt to immediately follow that person back. Right. I'm more apt to see, okay, like, what's this person up to? Are they into the same stuff that I am? Like, let's build and stuff like that. Obviously, other ways is through messaging. I'm not going to pretend I do a lot of business on Instagram, and like I've kind of tried it, but it usually just doesn't go well. But like, when you message people, and like, here's the thing. It just goes back to what Natalie was saying. Leaving a thoughtful comment, a thoughtful message. Maybe you saw something on Instagram that resonated with you, and you share it with the person, like, yo, this was cool. Like, it really resonated with me. XYZ, where can I find more information? I don't know. Anytime you're genuine with someone, and anytime you're organic and not just using someone, the interaction always tends to be more organic, and then you can genuinely build something out of it. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, when they are spamming, are expecting. I don't know. I actually have no idea anymore what people are doing when they're spamming on Instagram, because, like, are you expecting 100 different people to hit you back? Like, I don't know. So the more genuine conversations you're having, the more you're genuinely putting yourself out there and being yourself, I think the more genuine connections you'll have, and the more you're able to build and kind of expand your network organically.
Yeah. I mean, the key part about connection, right, is connection requires two-way engagement. So if all you're doing is putting out content and not participating in a conversation, it's like you're standing up on stage and you're just talking to an audience, but the audience has no way to talk back to you. And that doesn't work for Instagram. Instagram works when you're having a two-way conversation. And so, as Natalie says, to have those thoughtful comments, like, I can't have a conversation with emojis.
Right.
I can't have a conversation with, that's hot. Okay, cool. Thank you. I appreciate the comment.
Thanks.
But
Peace.
Thinking about how you can invite a back and forth with someone, right? And this is very similar to what we talked about with Twitter. Like, offer an analysis or a critique or a perception or a resource, like, bring something valuable to the conversation. Even if it's not in direct relationship to what the original poster has posted, people read comments all the time. So your audience, your network might actually be in the comment section. And so engage with people in the comments. So specifically some things you can do, and shout out to Bushido who's joining us, and Indio Prather who's here with us. So some of the specific things you can do is, don't be afraid to support other people on Instagram. Comment, share their stuff, tag them, tag other people in other people's comments. Like, the more you create a network and a web, the more people see you as this connector and this resource. And then follow through. Instagram algorithm does not facilitate this kind of relationship building. And so create a collection, or save things that you want to come back to, so that okay, I last engaged with Stowe on July 7th, so that I know that I have to come back frequently to engage with Stowe, so that we keep into contact with each other. So there's kind of little tools and tricks you can use that way. The last thing is, you can meet someone in the hashtags. Use the hashtags to find things that you're interested in. We use Culture Fix. Natalie and I use Culture Fix all the time. Actually, I'll tell you guys one of my favorite stories. I was looking up creative community hashtag, going through people's images, right? Like, making sure you're posting interesting visuals. That's an important part of Instagram. And I found this woman, Cynthia Pong, And I started looking at her posts and I was like, oh, dope. She's talking about some really interesting things. So I liked a couple posts. I followed. She followed me back. We didn't really know each other, but I started looking at her posts and commenting on the content that she was posting. So now I become someone familiar to her. One day she posted something about networking, and in the comments I told her, well, look, if you want to do a networking workshop, I'm interested. So we had a comment conversation, right? This is juicy. This is someone I don't know. I'm offering to do something with her. It's going to make me stand out, but it's also genuine. She DM'd me. Our conversation in the DMs turned into a phone call, and now we've done 3 negotiation webinars together, including one in real life in Hawaii. We traveled together. Like, this is someone that I work with and collaborate with regularly. And so, but it worked because I started a conversation randomly in the hashtags and then followed through and nurtured it. And that's the thing about Instagram in particular, is it's not going to be like showing up in someone's DMs. Hey, Indio, I want to work with you. Hey, 60, let's collaborate. Like, let's work.
Right.
Like, you have nothing to go off. But so taking time to, and shout out to 60 East who just joined us, taking the time to establish the relationship and then nurture it so that you funnel it to where you want it to go. And so that's where Instagram can be really helpful, is it lets you see who's interested, where are people, what are the things you have in common? Who else do you have those things in common with? Like, look at, if you're interested in what Stowe and I do, look at the people that Stowe and I have in common. And that might be a great place for you to start connecting and networking and engaging. So it's a little bit, Instagram is such a algorithm heavy platform.
You can combat that algorithm, damn it.
And you have to counter it. You have to actively counter it and intentionally be like, all right, I'm not going to just rely on who shows up in my feed. I'm going to go keep track of it, or I'm going to be but you have to be there. And this is the part I really want to stress, is you have to be proactive. Right. It's not just enough to put content and then sit back. There's a back and forth that happens in relationship building. And so that means like supporting others, commenting, sharing, making sure you reply. When people comment on your posts, reply to them. If they're engaging with your stories, share them. If they're mentioning you, put that back out there. Because that's the two-way street that you're doing.
Right. Big shout out to 60 East, actually. That's the homie right there.
Serial Sensei says, I need to back up my hard drives. Always a great idea. I'm trying to learn about Instagram. I still have no clue what I'm doing, which is most of us. Look, I mean, this is the other thing, right? Like, these platforms often change so quickly that by the time you figure out one thing, something else happened. Like LinkedIn is like a whole other thing, and I hate it as a platform. But like, for a while, if you were publishing stories on LinkedIn, they really promoted that, and now they're not. But like, no one announces this, right? So you kind of, unless you're like actively in that world or actively researching it, you don't know. And so be gentle with yourself on this like trial and error process. Okay, so now to this question of how can I make myself stand out on Instagram? Because there's millions of people. The first thing, and then I'll let Stowe take it away, is have a point of view. Like, if your page looks like everyone else's page, you're using the same like font or the same, everyone's using the same filter, or there has to be something, or it's just like music mic. Okay, well, fine. I've seen that a million times. So make sure you have the things where you clearly want to communicate who you are, what you do, and why you do it. And it's often in the why, the value statement, that's going to make you stand out and differentiate you from everyone else. So really, really have the thing that makes you different, and then be authentic about it. If you fake the funk, that's going to come.
People can
come
see
across.
right through that. Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Nora.
No, go ahead, Stowe.
So I'm not going to front. I'm still learning how to stand out on Instagram, but I do think, again, as with Twitter, half the battle is being yourself. I think so many artists out here, it's insane, like, especially on Instagram, where I feel like artists just be putting out all types of just kind of fake stuff, cloudy stuff to like make it look like there's more going on than what there really is. And you know, I personally kind of take pride in showing kind of not necessarily all the downsides, I guess, but some of that and what kind of that results in. And like, I think a good example is sometimes you'll see artists and people post like, you know, it may be just like a selfie or whatever, but that caption, sometimes they'll put a long ass caption, and it's not because it's something having to do with promo, not because it's something having to do with any type of product. It's them genuinely just opening themselves up to their audience and being like, yo, this is how I'm feeling today, or this is what I'm going through, or, you know, this is what I'm dealing with today. And I wholly respect that, because I feel like a lot of people on Instagram are just showing those like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 moments in their life. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I do believe that your fans and your audience, they do find value in the vulnerability and the openness that you put on any platform. The only other thing I was going to mention in terms of standing out is, yo, y'all gotta like show some behind the scenes stuff, show some stuff like in your day to day. I go to so many Instagram profiles that is just promo, flyer, mixtape, single. And it's like, dude, I don't even know who you are. I genuinely cannot figure out who you are through your Instagram, because it's literally just download this, stream this, go cop that. And it's like, yo, people, or everybody that's on this platform, everybody that you're trying to appeal to are real people, are real human beings. Nobody, I don't care what it is. Even when we turn on damn Hulu, how many times do we hate when we see 2 freaking commercials? Like, I lose my damn mind sometimes seeing that. So I don't want to go on your Instagram and just see that it's just one giant ad for your music. So like I said, show some behind the scenes stuff, show your day to day. Maybe you have a workout routine. Show how that goes. Maybe you go on a hike, you see something cool, anything to show your personality and to show stuff outside of the music. And as Clayton Christopher says here, like, go ahead, Nora.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, you started to answer Clayton Christopher's question around, should I keep the outside of music life posts or mix it up? And 100% you want to mix it up, because that's part of what's going to set you apart, right? So Clayton, I'm looking at your picture and you're like playing a guitar. It looks like you're in like a barn or something. Like, if that's part of who you are, and those are like clear signals that you're sending. So I know that I can come to your page for music, but also like you might be a guitar expert, so you can teach me a couple chords, or, you know, whatever it might be. This is also, so you mix it up so that people get to know you. You mix it up so that they're invested in your process. You mix it up so that they don't get sick of just commercial. But you also mix it up because this is where collaborators and endorsement deals and partnerships can start to come. If I know that, you know, like Clayton is a guitar expert, for example, I, as a guitar company, might think, oh, that's actually a really good collaboration. And so now there's an entryway there, rather than randomly just being like, I don't know anything about you. So 100% you want to mix it up and think about what that looks like visually. I see all of you guys with the questions, and we're going to come through them. Thank you. They're really good questions folks are sending in. Thinking about what that looks like in terms of your posts. So maybe it's like personal quote, you know, you quote your lyrics and behind the scenes, like figure out, and this is a little bit where you want to plan ahead for your content so that you can start to see visually how these things come together, so that you're not like, oh shit, I'm releasing my album in 2 days, I got to just dump a bunch of promo. But you can use that so you've planned ahead for a couple of weeks so that you can lead up to that.
Can you talk a bit more about scheduling, actually? Because I feel like that's super important. And even because like I forget that that's something that should be done and whatnot on Instagram.
Yeah. So someone had asked, actually, this is to Serial Sensei's post around, do people pay more attention to Instagram stories or your regular posts? Both. Some people really like the stories. Some people like posts. Some people might see both, but often people will see one or the other. So you want to kind of figure it out, but they're 2 different platforms. So the kind of story that might work well in a post might not work well in a story, and vice versa. So you want to think about when you're doing like a rollout or you have something to promote, work backwards from, okay, what am I promoting and what are all the things that need to happen in the lead up to it, right? And like, I really love Post-it notes for this because they're square and you can kind of start to see like what your page will look like one post at a time, because people will see you one post at a time. But
Right.
when they make the decision to follow you, they see your at least the top 6 or top 9. So even though you're posting individually, you still want to keep in mind what the big picture story that you're telling is. So what's the theme? Maybe there's a color that connects them, or maybe there's like an image or something that creates some kind of cohesion from your page that makes it visually appealing, while at the same, it's like looking at the small picture and the big picture at the same time. India Prather says, for me, folks watch my Instagram stories more, but then again, I rarely post on Instagram. So even if you don't like to post, stories are a great way to keep people engaged. So thinking about what you can plan out, and then where does content fit best? Does it go best in your post or does it go best in your story?
Right.
So things that are permanent, right? You want to put in your post. Things that are like flyers, event flyers, like contests, like all that kind of stuff actually does really well in your stories. And they give you you have an option to invite people to participate. So you can use a slider, or you can use like a poll, or there's stickers that people can tap on, things that help build up your engagement that you can use in your stories that you can't use in your posts. So I know the thought of planning ahead can feel daunting. So plan ahead for 3 days, plan ahead for a week, like start out in baby steps, but definitely you want to plan ahead and mix it up. Posts probably take more planning than your Instagram stories. But definitely think about what you want to put up in different places. The last thing I'll say is, well, actually, let me make sure and I want to share this thing that Indio said around just getting out of my way and cleaning stuff up. Look, it's perfectly okay to trial and error at this stage of Instagram.
Gotta do it.
Like try it and be like, oh, I don't like how that posts. Archive it, delete it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be up forever. Play with the different kinds of captions. Do
Right.
long captions work well, or do short captions work well? Definitely give yourself time to check out the hypothesis, right? You can't do one post and be like, oh, well, that didn't work, and then try something else.
Seriously.
But don't be afraid to experiment and play. I think, and I experienced this, like you start to develop an attachment to your post, or you do one kind of post and it works really well, and so you want to keep it up forever. But don't be afraid to kind of trial and error, experiment and play around until you figure out what really works for you. I want to make sure we answered everyone's questions. I think we did. If we missed it, throw it back in the comments.
Word. Definitely, and to piggyback off of Nora's trial and error stuff, like that goes for all social media platforms. Like but definitely for sure with Instagram. Because even for me, I'm constantly testing out different things and different fonts, different backgrounds and filters and stuff like that. And here's the thing, not everything's gonna catch, guys, and that's okay. Like I know it's hard to hear sometimes, and it can be very discouraging. Like I hear all of that, and I've dealt with all of that. But you have to find what works for you, and find find what doesn't work. Because, like I said, some stuff isn't gonna work, and you'll be like, damn, like that. Well, I don't know what happened, but that ain't really working out. So try something different. Don't bail out on the platform, because I do see a lot of cats do it. Like, damn, I didn't get the engagement I want. Fuck Instagram. Like, I get it, but keep trying different things. Eventually, something will catch. I promise.
Yeah. And to Indio's point, Indio says, I like the engagement from the stories more than regular posts because it takes way more planning. And look, this is the thing, is start with the thing that's easy and comfortable for you, and just get good at that. And then you can add layers in. I, for example, hate putting my face on Instagram. Like, it just makes me nervous, but I really love Twitter. So for a long time, I used to just take my tweets and repost my tweets and get engagement that way. It was easy. I have to evolve eventually, but for a starting point, that worked really well for me. So, you know, if stories are easy, start there. And then, you know, maybe you turn your story into a post or figure out how it works. Clayton asks, is it worth it to pay to promote posts? In general, I think ads without knowing your target audience, without knowing your niche, without knowing having done some of the back ends, probably aren't going to give you the return unless you have a very specific call to action that you're making. Really, ads depend on your goals. And there's no guarantee that one promoted post is going to give you the return that you want. So if your goal is to get a bunch of followers, maybe that might not be the best use of a promoted post. But if you have a specific event, for example, that you want people to see, that you can hyper focus using the hashtags and like where you target it, maybe. It really depends on your goals.
Yeah, is it worth it to pay for promoted post? Hell no, man. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, Nora took the words right out of my mouth, honestly. It really only works if you know your targeted audience. And Nora actually nailed it on the head when she said that you don't know if you're going to get that return. So even if you put $20, $30 into an ad, like what, I guess, and I like to ask artists this question, like, what is the goal when you're paying to promote a post? What are you hoping happens on the back end? Because in a lot of cases, if you're realistic about what happens with most ads, and even in what I like to say is think about how you approach most ads. I know while there are some ads that I know for a fact are catered to me and stuff like that look at least kind of interesting, for the most part, I'm flying right through that. Like, are you kidding me? So if you're expecting to pay for a post and you're hoping that return is an album sale, that's really risky, because, you know, you're not, that's such a gap between clicking an ad. And here's the other thing, damn it, that I keep forgetting, is that Instagram's browser or whatever the hell is not great. Even when you go to someone, because like when you go to someone's page, and even if they have a link tree or whatever, sometimes that browser does not load the page correctly. Sometimes it takes you, or it doesn't, like, let's say you have Google Chrome as your browser and you're logged into all this stuff, it doesn't translate over to the Instagram browser. So if you have a product or something like that and you have someone and you're wanting them to pay through PayPal, if they use the Instagram browser, they're going to have to log in and do all this other shit. And by that point, they probably lost interest in the ad in the first place. So personally, I don't believe that even if you really do know your target audience, I'm not always certain that you should dump money into ads like that unless you are for sure certain that it's gonna that the return makes sense. If you're trying to get follows, maybe. But again, like, I just don't see the point in putting in money to gain followers, when if you're patient and you do the work, the followers will trickle in.
Yeah. And I want to stress this. Instagram wants to keep you in the platform. It's why and paying. But like, there's a reason why links only work on one place, and that's the one area you have for links. And there's a reason why you have to have, like, I think it's like 10,000 followers before you can have like a swipe up link in your story. Like, that's all very, very intentional. Which is the other thing, is like, Instagram is actually super stratified as a platform based on how many followers you have. So the more followers you have, the more you have access to things. And like, and so I want to say that to remind you again, please don't compare yourself to what like whoever with 1,000, 100 followers or 1 million, whatever followers is doing, because you don't have access to the same things. And so in this scale, at this rate, really focusing on your engagement ratio over things like followers and the quality of contact you're having with people over like vanity metrics is really, really going to get you further. I want to end with this last question, and I think we've covered a lot, but if there's anything specifically that we haven't touched on that artists should be doing on Instagram.
Yeah, again, like, my thing is, first, I do believe that most artists or content creators, businesses, whatever, should be posting daily on Instagram, at least once a day. I don't know. Listen, most of my advice doesn't come from any type of algorithm experience. Like, on most platforms, I'm not going to front. I completely ignore the algorithm and kind of am more focused on just building the relationships with people genuinely. So I will say that much. But here's the other thing, like kind of toy around with other apps. I don't really like a lot of Instagram's other apps, but apps like Canva, InShot, Pixlr, Snapseed, I think is Google's like other photo thing. Like those are 4 really good photo editing platforms, video editing platforms that are free. And I think maybe InShot, I think I paid maybe $7 for the pro version. Totally worth it. It gives you access to in fact, it's how I make our office hour trailers is through InShot. And so it just gives you a ton of resources to really ramp up your visual game. And honestly, like, listen, this is a true story. This is from personal experience. I've been trying to toy around with Instagram for the last, I'll say 6 to 8 months, just because I haven't been taking it as seriously as I need to as someone who's an artist, business person, whatever. So I've been kind of like just doing research, doing my thing. All I did was add 2 borders on the side of a video that I posted a couple months ago, or I'm sorry, for tweets that I screenshotted and stuff like that. And my interaction went through the roof, probably just because due to the colors that I used, it just immediately catches your eye. And I don't even think about stuff like that in terms of like, of course, that's how Instagram works. If it catches your eye, of course, you're more apt to stop, slow down, and see what's up. So experimenting with all those different apps and platforms and stuff like that can really give you something just absolutely beautiful for promotional stuff, for almost anything. It's just, honestly, what can you imagine?
Yeah, Serial Sensei says, I use Canva for my podcast posts. It was pretty useful. Canva or any kind of app like that is great because it lets you tell your story. Who are you as a brand through colors and images and other things, so people start to get to know you. I want to recommend Phlanx, PHLANX.com. And you can just Google it. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it'll give you your engagement ratio, which is, so not everyone who follows you sees your post. So you could have 1,000 followers and only like 100 people see your post. What Phlanx calculates is the comments, the likes, what your engagement looks like, rather than just what your like ratio or follower count is. So that's a really useful tool to look at what's the actual back and forth relationship you have with your audience. And it also shows you what like big influencers have. So you'll realize that some of like your biggest people only have like a 2% engagement. And so if you as an artist can say, well, actually I have like 8% or I have 5%, now that's data that you can take to a promoter or a partner or a potential brand to push yourself as a micro influencer. So using some of these Instagram affiliate or like tangent tools can also be really helpful. I think I want to reiterate the stuff around planning your content ahead, using the different tools that Instagram has for you, and then really, really, really engaging and being proactive about engagement. Like Instagram will tell you, if you look under your followers, it'll tell you like the 50 accounts that you have least interacted with. So make sure you check that regularly if those are your least interacted with accounts, then go back and interact with those accounts. And then finally, please don't spam people. Please don't go on like a follow spree so you can unfollow people later. Like just that kind of sketchy stuff. The algorithm doesn't like it, but people notice when you do that and it doesn't feel good. And that's not the kind of relationship. What social media at its core is a way for you as an artist, you as a brand, to build a relationship with your audience. And ideally, I imagine, I hope, you want to build a relationship that's based on reciprocity and trust rather than manipulation and maneuvering. And so trust that your audience is there. Trust that they'll find you. Trust that they'll stay if you give them quality content. And so rather than kind of trying to manipulate the numbers, don't buy followers. Please don't buy followers.
Oh my goodness, never do that.
Wait, Natalie, is that true? Natalie says, I have more engagement on Instagram than Gary Vee and Beyonce combined. Yikes.
Holy moly.
Cool. Good to know. And I think this is the thing, is oftentimes we don't know the back end of some of these accounts that we look at. And so this is where data can be really helpful for you. So that's Instagram in a nutshell. Please, if you have other questions, feel free to send those in, drop them in the comments. If you're watching this later, we come back and we answer all the comment questions. Stowe and I are on Twitter or on Instagram. Please reach out to us. If you have questions, we're both also available for one-on-one consulting. So definitely reach out to us, because we do this because we want to support artists. Also, this is the time where we tell you to please like and subscribe, whatever's at the bottom of the screen.
Right.
Anything else, Stowe, before we wrap up?
No, we appreciate you guys coming through. Over 100 subscribers. I genuinely can't believe that you guys are all coming through. Your man's got more engagement than Kim Kardashian at 2.94%. Okay, so I don't want to hear nothing no more. All right, I'm famous now. Get me verified. Period. Let's make it happen. But seriously, guys, take care of yourselves. I hope you guys are staying safe out here. Go check the past episodes, guys. There's 6 other episodes. Oh my God, that's at least 3 hours of content, free keys and stuff like that to just absorb and use. We're back every first and third Tuesday of the month. And yeah, we really appreciate you guys coming through. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, put on your damn mask. Y'all, what did we tell you?
Please stay home, wear a mask, stay home.
Stay home, wear your mask. We told y'all what's coming through. Now look, everyone has done. Look what has happened. But anyway, yeah, seriously, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you guys soon. All right, peace. Let's see here. Oh my God,